welcome to the Clifton Worley Show. This is Clifton Worley, and I have with me the Worley Birds.
I'm Nick.
I'm Josh.
And we've got a good show lined up for you guys today. Super excited. This week we heard from you guys, and some of us were just tell us what you like, what you didn't like, and so it was really helpful. And we're having a lot of fun doing this. So we've got some topics that we're going to talk about today. Josh, tell us what's our first topic.
Well, our first topic is embarrassing things we do while we play guitar. Embarrassing things we do while we play guitar. Guitar embarrassments. Now, it's not about playing. It's about embarrassing quirks that we have. So I think the biggest live streamer among all of us is Clifton. So Clifton, what is the most embarrassing thing that you do when you play guitar?
Well, I think I do two things that's been pointed out to me. One is I vigorously lick my lips while I play, which is kind of embarrassing. It's like one of those things that I just can't stop doing. It's like a nervous deal. And then number two is I've been told a lot that I don't look happy when I play. I look very angry, but I think it's because I'm really focusing on what I'm doing, and it gets intense. And so I don't know. I try to now, when I play in church especially, is intentionally try to make myself think happy things to smile, because I don't want to come off like I'm some kind of
faker,
angry punk rock worship leader or something, you know?
Yeah. Rage doesn't exactly work as a fuel in worship music. It's, very different. Yeah, that's for sure. What about you, Nick?
Well, I have what my wife calls it's an affliction. It's called caveman forehead. So, like Clifton, I look angry pretty much all the time. So that includes when I play guitar, and I post a lot on Instagram. Whenever I watch myself play, I'm like, man, I look mad all the time. I look really mad, and it's the same thing. It's I can't help it. That's the way my forehead is. But the other thing I do is I move my mouth when I play, like I'm talking. And if I didn't have a beard, you would notice it even more than people do now. But I mean, nobody's ever said anything about it except for my wife, but I do it really bad. I have to tell myself that, it looks like I'm talking when I'm playing, like I'm speaking through the guitar, and it's really annoying. And whenever I do it, I'm like, I can't post that. I'm like, that looks terrible. I have to try to keep so then I try to keep my mouth shut. Then I look angrier because I'm concentrating on not moving my mouth.
Okay.
That makes me think of Robbie Robertson a little bit, on the last waltz, he would do these weird with his mouth while he's playing.
Yeah.
I did that when I played drums too. I'd be like chicka chicka bop, chicka chicka bop, chicka chicka bop, keeping time to myself. I would sit there and do it. And I've actually seen drummers do it more. So
drummers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a thing. But it gets. I will tell you that it gets worse with the wah effect. Yeah, because I'll sit there and go wow 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 wow. Okay. I had a Guyatone Ottawa, and it was terrible. I had to get rid of the pedal. My wife goes, "What?" Not only does it sound like music that is in the porn industry, but I would sit there and just go wow 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 wow.
Yeah,
I had to sell.
Oh man.
But yeah,
man, that needs to be. We have a new intro right there. Nick doing Ottawa.
I'm just gonna Ottawa the intro every time.
Yeah, for sure.
I really want an electro-harmonics cockfight just so I can see what my face does.
It's a cool pedal. It sounds cool.
But I want the WoW version of it.
Yeah.
That looks sweet.
Can I interrupt and like go a little
Yes.
bit off topic here for a second? You made me think about the
That's
auto
not
wah.
like us.
Yeah, you thought about the Ottawa, and I was listening to some Grateful Dead tracks this week because they brought it up on the Slum. And one thing, I don't remember if it's Jerry Garcia or like Bob Weir who like played his guitar with like that filter effect though, and it was like this. It was almost like this wah thing, but it was like a different frequency, and it like stayed there. And it sounded like pretty sweet.
No, it didn't. The Grateful Dead's terrible.
Yeah. Well, their songs are pretty terrible.
They got
but,
worse, actually.
Yeah.
They started out bad. They got worse.
No, they started out good, and then about the '90s they started believing their own hype, and then Jerry's hearing was going, and so he got tinnier and tinnier, and yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest Grateful Dead fan, really not huge one, but I mean they're better than many other bands. But
is that why he needed 3 humbuckers in his guitar? Because he was getting tinnier and he couldn't hear?
Or maybe so. Getting back on topic, which is my job.
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
Getting back on topic. My biggest quirk, my biggest thing, and I didn't even notice this until I saw a video of myself playing mandolin in church. And I nod and shake my head at my notes that I'm playing. So if I make a mistake, I shake my head. If I'm playing well, I'm nodding, and then I shake my head. And then I'm nodding, and I'm nodding, and I'm nodding, and I shake my head. And then the other thing that I just noticed when I was leading about 2 months ago, my wife actually pointed out to me, I kind of look, she said, it looks like I'm taking a poop when I'm singing, because my eyebrows go way down, and then my face scrunches up, and I kind of push my jaw out a little bit, and it's like why do you do that? And so it's funny, I made a conscious effort to lift my eyebrows up and kind of relax, and actually I sang a lot. I felt like I sang a lot better and played a lot better because you hold so much tension in your face.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's sometimes those really subconscious things, those things that you do without thinking about it, and seeing yourself on video or seeing yourself through the eyes of somebody else can really help you turn into a better player, I think, and a better performer, because you don't realize that you're doing these things and your body's holding tension, and also you don't realize what it looks like to other people. For sure, that's a definite thing, because you kind of think, well, this is just what I do. The other thing I used to do is I would look like I was chewing on something in my mouth. I wouldn't open my mouth, but I looked like I was chewing on something, and I was chewing on the notes. It was the weirdest thing, because, man, I didn't even notice I was doing it again until I saw a video of myself, man. But yeah,
chewing on the note.
Like a guy with his false teeth out, an old dude with his false teeth out, kind of gumming.
Like that.
Gosh, oh,
like
gumming the note.
Like,
That's
it's like kind of sucking your gums type thing. It's the grossest thing looking, and I didn't even realize. And it's worse than doing the talking thing. Text. Everybody does that to some extent. I mean, if you want to see the worst, you look at that Paul Gilbert, who's kind of made it his thing.
Yeah.
His guitar bass is terrible.
So the question is, do we own it, or do we try to get rid of it?
I
Get rid of it.
I think you own it. I just do. Because okay, I always look at it like this: if I was performing, I wouldn't be able to help it. I just wouldn't. I'm not good enough to be able to concentrate on that and then try to play guitar. So I would just own it and look like an idiot, and hopefully somebody thinks that's cool, or not, whichever.
Yeah,
I can see that, but for me, the problem is getting out of my head when I'm playing, especially in front of other people. And if I can concentrate on something stupid like lifting up my eyebrows, then I'm out of my head for a minute, and I'm actually playing better. I feel like, because I think when you play at home and you practice at home, Nick, or when you're recording a video or something, and then you play out, you always play worse when you play out than you do at home. You play like 60 to 80% of your ability, and it's because you're focused on things out there. But if I'm focusing on lifting my eyebrows up, maybe it'll be more like being in the practice room,
Yeah.
instead of focusing on playing.
I'm gonna need a lot of fuzz then, and a lot of delay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have to cover all that up. I got percentages to make up. Because I screw up a lot at home. And
Yeah.
I think it's funny because I don't know what I look like in like church. I can just see myself up there doing something really stupid. I don't.
Yeah. Well, if you go to a contemporary church, a lot of times you look at the band, and they don't mean to, but they look miserable. They look miserable because they're focusing so much on getting stuff done that they don't bother to smile. They don't look up. They don't, and then you've got your music stands in front of you, which that's automatically you're looking down a little bit. So yeah, I mean that's something that we should be aware of for sure when we play out, because if you don't look like you're having a good time, which I suppose if you're scatting along with your playing, then you do look like you're having a good time. I mean, if you look at the drummers, they always look like they're having the best time. They look insane. The average drummer looks insane when they're drumming.
Well, you jogged my mind on something there about the music stand thing. That's a huge debate, like with guys who play in church. And I don't know if that's like really a thing like outside of the P-dub world, but that was something that like used to be my huge crutch, was I would have to have my music in front of me. And I think a lot of it was like I was doing so many songs like when I was starting out that like I couldn't remember them all. And it really wasn't the chords. I get the chords down, like I can get a groove down and remember that. But getting the lyrics down was a huge problem for me. And so like I heavily relied on that. And I guess a couple years ago I went to using an iPad for my lyrics. And at first, like I had an iPad mini. I've had several of them, but that's instead of having a full iPad, I've had the iPad mini, and it's a little bit harder to see. And what I found myself like over a couple months is like I pushed myself to where I have that safety net there in front of me, but I'm not staring at the iPad the whole time. It's kind of just there, like to give me that little bit of confidence I need to. Oh, I'm not gonna fail. I'm not gonna be up here like ad-libbing lyrics, and so it did wonders for me to concentrate, like you said, on some of the other things about like, oh, I got to lift my eyebrows so I can hit those notes.
That's the secret.
Yes.
Actually, it really seriously, it did make a big difference for me because I think that a lot of times when you're not particularly confident at something, you get on your own head, and I think that's the same thing with music stands and playing with music. I mean, you have to have them, in my opinion, when you're doing something corporate where everybody's singing together. You either have to have a music stand or you have to have the words up there projected for you, because you can't ad lib like you can if you're playing at an open mic or you're playing at a jam. If you're playing at a jam, you could get 3/4 of the words wrong. It doesn't matter, because you're playing for entertainment, and nobody else is singing along with you. Or but if you're playing, up to 120, 140 songs, and a different one every week, and some of them sound very similar, you have to have the lyrics in front of you, at least for that safety net. If you can't quite remember that next word, in my opinion, because that's why you're there. You're not there you're there to facilitate and not entertain.
Yeah.
Do you ever, Josh? Or Clifton? Do you guys ever like when you do something good? Do you ever like nod like, yeah, killed it?
Well,
yeah.
Like I said, I've got to stop my head from moving, because if I'm playing right notes and I'm playing it like 100 beats a minute, my head's going yep.
Josh
yep,
looks like an '80s beatboxer in New York City, walking around his head for no reason.
Yeah, that's that. And actually, it's it's from playing bass for playing bass quite a lot. You get that there's this bass kind of movement that you get when you play bass guitar for a while, and you can't avoid it because your whole body is keeping time with the band, and you're kind of linking up with the guitar and the drums, and you can't avoid that movement. And you'll notice if you watch a bass player, all bass players it's kind of like drummers. They all have this movement that they do, and they can't avoid it. I mean, even the most stoic guys will still have that, either head bob or kind of a shift, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man, I have a story then. There's two Christmas bands that I know of. You know Mannheim Steamroller?
Yes.
You ever heard of them?
Not personally.
Who is the other band that's not Mannheim Steamroller that used to be an 80s metal band called Savage?
I think
and they decided that.
Is it Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Yeah, and they had Al Petrelli playing with them for a while. Skolnick. Alex Skolnick.
Okay, yeah.
I saw them play at Van Andel Arena 2 years in a row, and Alex Skolnick was their guitar player. And it's not really about Alex Skolnick because he was really kind of uninteresting. He just did what he did, and he was doing so much that I don't think he had time to really not concentrate. But the bass player for this band was some young no-name kid, and he was in like a suit, and this guy was just doing unseemly things while he was playing bass. I mean, he was thrusting and really getting into it, and headbanging, and like making the duck face, and like and we just kept we stared at him the entire show because we were like, this guy is really into this. This guy can't help but think
That's
he's
too
awesome.
funny.
Oh, the Christmas thing.
I've never seen anything like it, and I've been to I've been to metal shows, and bass players didn't do that much.
Yeah, they're actually a great show. I've seen them twice. One, it was like one of the first dates that me and my wife went on, like when I was in college. Well, we went and saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and then like I think it was the Christmas before last. Somebody gave us like some tickets. It was like this lady that we know, her brother's a radio promoter, and he had some free ones, and he was trying to like give them away, and like couldn't find anybody that was willing to go, and so like she asked us, and we're like, yeah, we'll go. And so like we went, and they have an incredible show, but like beyond like that's not like typically my style of music. But their show is amazing, and their light show is probably even better than the music.
Yep, their orator's really good too. Like they had that old guy like tell the story of Christmas while they're playing, and I think that adds a lot to it. But It was a good show. Yep.
And I heard they're coming back like to New Orleans like this December, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, should I try to go? But it's a good time, and it's a good show.
Yeah, they have an East and a West. There's two different bands.
Well, that makes sense because like for them to hit like all the markets that want to have a Christmas show, I think you would have to have more than one band. I've always kind of wondered that, like, did they have multiple teams out doing the same show? Because it's not like built around like any kind of personalities.
Nope. Exactly. How's that topic coming, Josh?
Well, I think that you guys have really spoke well about this topic, and we're going to move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
String choice. We're going to talk about strings now. When we brought this up, or I think Nick was like, "What about strings?" But I know that you've recently purchased that new guitar, that Parlor, and you felt a big difference between the nickel strings and the brass strings. Or was it brass or bronze? Bronze.
No, it's brass.
Bronze strings.
Yeah.
Brass strings. Okay.
Go ahead.
How do you think that strings affect your tone and your playing, and also how do you pick the right strings for the guitar? I mean, that's a wide, all-encompassing topic that I think we can talk about for a while. So, Nick, since you have the most recent experience of trying some different strings, why don't you talk about it first?
Well, I've been kind of, I played Ernie balls for years. On acoustics, I played Diodario Phosphor Bronze on that back then. And then on electrics, I always play Ernie ball. I always played Ernie ball nickels or slinkies, nothing too great. But since I play in open tunings, I usually ended up buying like two single strings to go with it to give me a higher high E and a higher B string, better tension anyway. And then I heard about Stringjoy and how you could craft that. And they were a little bit more expensive, but I wanted to give them a try, and that's pretty much where I've been ever since. I have a custom gauge made for me. I contacted Scott, and I said, here's what I do, and I was intrigued. I heard him on the Tone Mob, and I was intrigued about this even tension thing, and I was like, man, I bet you that really plays well for slide, because when you're playing slide guitar almost exclusively, you really notice the jump between strings, and I hate that. Like I don't want a rubbery, elasticy feel on one string and a super tense feel on the other string. So, I reached out to him and I talked to him about it. He said, yeah, a lot of slide guys do. Joey Landreth plays from Brothers Landreth, is an incredible slide player, and they play an unreal gauge, like super, super heavy. I kind of wanted to get somewhere in between that. So I ended up with, on an acoustic, I go for when I play in like an open D, and that's what I have on that Parlor right now. I start with their natural brass set, and then I add a wound third because I really like a wound third string. I like it to feel as much like, even my electrics have wound thirds. I really like that feel of an acoustic-y type of string when I play, and I really I use that as kind of a launch point when I play slide. I really like to pull off that string with my finger picks. But I go with a 12 to 54 set, and it's like 12, 15, a 22 wound, a 28, a 38, and a 54. And for my open tuning, my open E tunings for my electrics, I just go lighter and I go 10 to 52 or 10 to 50. But it's made a big difference for me. It's the feel. I don't know if I notice the tone so much in between different strings. Now on that Parlor, I do think that when you're dealing with acoustics, it makes a bigger difference. I know that bronze always sounds warmer to me, and they seem to die fast. Yeah. Brass, I just got turned on to brass by Stringjoy, and I'm digging brass, but brass is super, like Josh says, zingy. Yeah. So if you've got like a Taylor, you put a set of brass strings on it, I guarantee that thing's going to pop and sizzle and have a ton of high end.
Yeah.
And but on the other hand, I think a set of brass strings on a Martin might be the ticket, and some acoustics, like my Resonator's got nickel strings, and I really like nickel strings on that. I think it's got that old timey mellow sound, and it's an even sound. And I really like that on that guitar. But the Parlor really likes the brass. I tried the nickel on that one because I intended to put a magnetic pickup in it, and I liked it, but not that much. I think I needed to go up on a string gauge because I had my lighter gauge strings on that one. I was a little worried the neck would warp. Okay. Because it's so straight and it's got a non-adjustable truss rod, and those guitars usually are bowed like one of my long bows. So I kind of wanted to preserve that guitar a little bit, but tuning to open D, I think I'm fine. So I think I want to jump the gauge up on that, but I just put the brass on that in the meantime until I get a magnetic pickup. And that guitar, I think, was meant to be bright, and the brass strings really make it sound good. And I'm totally happy with that. But yeah, my string journey has been pretty. I'm just really picky. And again, I don't know if it's so much the tone; it's more of the feel. I can really tell the difference with a guitar with a standard set of strings and a guitar with the gauge I like to play.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll add a few points on that. For the most part, I haven't thought a lot about strings through my guitar playing years. I guess it was about probably 5 or so years ago, I used to have a friend. He would come by, and he was a lot more experienced guitar player at that point, and he would come by, and he was really challenging my way of, man, you need to get your strings on this guitar, man, you need to set this guitar up, and so it kind of pushed me down a little bit different road, and he was the kind of guy, he would come by and like he would just throw me a pack of strings and be like, hey dude, try this out, and so I started just trying to take better care of keeping fresh strings on my guitars and stuff. On electric, like my telly, I'm gonna want probably like a 10 gauge. I found that brand doesn't really matter to me as long as I'm getting like the same kind of string. So, I mean, it could be like Ernie Balls, it could be like Fender branded, it could be like when I was at NAMM, they were giving away like free strings to like some of my friends and stuff, and like it was like, well, I use this or whatever, and like I was like, well, I'll take it. I'm not picky. And yeah, like I think right now on my telly, like I have a set of some, I don't even know, like D'Angelicos or something. That it's fine. When it comes to acoustic guitar, I'm a little bit more pickier. A 12 to 54 is, or I think I've gone as high as 13s maybe on acoustic, but 12s are good. I have had my stint, trying different ones. Like the Elixir, I really like those for my acoustic. I don't particularly like that coating, just because they can wear off over time. But I do find that they last longer. Right now, I haven't used those in about a year. But I did find that it added a top end to my playing. That like when I'm plugging up, I do a lot of acoustic electric. It helps bring out some frequencies that I don't get from other strings. Right now, I think for the past probably year and a half or so, I had a friend who had a bunch of loose strings. He had advertised like, hey, I've got a huge pack, probably enough to make up about a dozen sets. They're yours for like $30 shipped. And so I bought them from him. And so for a while, like, it was like half Elixir, some Gear Supply stuff.
You're making me cringe right now.
I think there was some string. I think there was some String Joy in there. Like it was like, so like what I did is I went through, and I was like, okay, here's a 12, here's a 14, here's a 16, and like I broke them down into like, okay, this is a pack. I'll put this together, and like I had about a dozen of those, and so I spent about a year like just kind of trying to. I had a huge supply of extra strings, broken packs, where like I had taken like a string out and then didn't like change the rest of my strings, and so like, well, when you're playing in church, when you're playing in church like that, and you break a string, a lot of times like I'll change like before rehearsal, like just put that one string on, and then I get busy and don't put the rest of the set on. And then a few weeks later, I'm like, well, I'm going to go a whole new fresh set, And so I had a lot of like packs that were missing like the E's and the G's and the strings that you tend to break, So,
I feel like this belongs in the hacks conversation.
Oh my god, the tone hacks thing. But So for me, I've used on acoustic Martin Retros now since they came out pretty much, which I really like because they're retro mono, which means that they're a nickel copper combination alloy.
Okay.
And I kind of go for the opposite. I like a really pure kind of dry sound with not a lot of overtone, and I kind of go with that for everything because too many overtones to me, I feel like it confuses me a little bit when I'm playing, or especially when I'm playing with others. I mean, I know that when you're playing a Taylor, you got that top end zing, and it's really a nice sound when you're strumming, and it really goes well with the band and stuff. But I've always really liked that kind of dry, old time bluegrass type sound. Like if you listen to the old bluegrass records, there's not much top end at all in those guitars. You know,
Yeah.
they're really, and there's not much overtone. If you listen to the old jazz guys, there's not much overtone. If you listen to the surf guys, all the old rock guys, and on electric for about 2 years, I was playing, or about a year and a half, I played straight up 11 flat wounds, and it was because I didn't like that all the overtones. I didn't like them. I liked it to be that old style sound, and it's maybe a little bit of the Mojo thing. It's not really that. It's kind of like, that's to me what makes a guitar sound like a guitar. When you have all those overtones hiding what's actually there, it's kind of like it's just an opinion thing, but I don't care for it as much.
Yeah.
But so I use on acoustic, I use the Retro Mono 12s, and those are Martins. And the great thing is they're like $7 a set, and they last me 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and they don't die. They don't really die. They just lose volume, you know. And it's really interesting how they do it. They get quieter and quieter and quieter, because they started off at one sound and they stay the same way. They just kind of they get this peak where it's super loud, and they start to die off. And I have to remember to change it at that point. Otherwise, they'll just stay on my guitar fronts and they'll still keep sounding good. They'll just get quieter and quieter.
Yeah.
So on electric, I'm going through a journey now. I went down to from 11s to 10s, so that I could do stuff on Rocksmith, to be honest with you, because there's bending 11s up, you know, 2 frets is not easy, especially 11 flats with that high tension. And so I tried OptiWebs, the new OptiWeb elixirs. Snapped on me. Like, I haven't broken a string in about 10, 11 years, and the G string snapped on me super quick. And so I'm trying the NYXLs, and I'm really liking those so far. Not the balanced tension set. Now when I run out, I think I'm going to try that, since Nick seems to really swear by those balanced tension on his slide. I mean, I think that'd be kind of cool. Is it when they balance tension? Does that mean they go softer on do the low strings feel softer, or do the high strings feel tighter? What is it?
It's really even. And my dad doesn't play slide. He just ordered a set of brass, and he ordered a set of electrics, and he's on his Strat, and he swears by them. It's hard to explain, but I mean, it's kind of just, there's an even feel all the way across the strings. And it's kind of like climbing a ladder, and one rung's not 2 feet farther than the other one, and one's 6 inches from the other one. And that's like the best way I can describe it. Like it feels like you're climbing evenly up and down the fretboard and across the fretboard. It's really kind of cool. And I think it makes, and it also decreases braking, because what they do is they take a some kind of caliper or something, and they pretty much measure the tension all the way across, and they get as close as they can. And it's supposed to cut down on breaking things like G strings and stuff like that, because you got a better tension there, if that makes any sense. I'm not a real technical guy. But
that makes sense.
Or you could boil them so you get that nice dead tone that you seek, that dead characterless tone that you want.
Hey, no, it's not characterless. It's dry. It's dry. And if it's dry, it shows the character of the guitar rather than the character of the string. It's kind of like King of the Hill. You know, you're tasting the meat, not the heat. You know, I'd rather hear my guitar than hear the string. When you've got a bright string on the guitar, it, you know, for your parlor it makes sense. But when you have a bright string on a guitar that's meant to sound a certain way, say a Martin OM or a Martin D, or, you know, less so on a Taylor, because the Taylor is meant to sound bright and overtony. But a Martin OM or D, they're supposed to sound dry, and they're supposed to sound, you know, they're going for this certain sound. And when you put a string on there that accents that sound, and that's the thing about the models. If you read the reviews say, I hate this string, and the reason they hate it is because it brings out the character of their guitar. and their true character of the guitar might not be what they like, because a lot of people really like that high end zing. I like the super dry sound, especially like what I really liked when I went and bought my guitar was this my guitar and a really old Gibson. And if you play a really old Gibson acoustic, like the small ones, the L zeros, I can't remember what they're called,
Yeah.
but they have this super dry sound. It almost sounds like you're that they have an echo chamber inside of them, a little, and it's dry and dusty sounding, and I like that. I like that sound because it's not what you hear normally, but it's what you hear in all the old recordings. So moving on to the next topic, let's talk about some picks this week, and Nick's pretty excited about his, so let's have him go first with that.
Yeah.
What do you?
What's that?
What are you going to tell us about, Nick?
Well, my pick'em's actually it's kind of an old favorite, and I've been listening to him for like a year or so, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Brother Deej Legg.
Nope.
Degellegg. If you've ever seen the movie Django Unchained, they did Quentin Tarantino chose Too Old to Die Young Now. That was their big hit, and it's the scene where he's in the cabin just about ready to go and throw down at Candyland. And that was, he had heard Brother Deej on something, I don't know what it was, but because they're just kind of a small band that tours all over the country. They're just like, one of those basic folk rock blues acts that is not too big, just a bar gigging band kind of thing, and maybe a little bit bigger than that in the South. But they heard him, or he heard him, and he just went nuts over him. And he put that song on the CD. So that's off their album Folk Songs of the American Longhair. And he's a resonator guy. Surprise, surprise. But he's I just really like their sound. They got a real, he's a big foot stomper. He's got a band, but he's a big, foot stomper, blues, folk, rock guy, and he writes great songs. He's an author too, and I just really dig him. If you want something that's going to get your foot tapping and stomping around the house, that real big resonator sound, this is the guy that you want. And one of the things I like about him real quick is that he used to play an old Regal resonator that buzzed. And he nicknamed it Buzzo, and he actually, that's what inspired him to start playing a resonator. It had like a natural raunchy distortion to it. And he was in like a psychobilly group before that, and he was playing a lot of electric and a lot of that real heavy effect kind of stuff. And then he kind of went off on his own with this resonator and formed a band, and Buzzo was like, until it broke, Buzzo was his main guitar, and he breaks his resonators all the time because he jumps around on stage like a crazy man. But yeah, Brother Deej, man, check Brother Deej out. And Folk Songs of the American Longhair is a fantastic album, just from front to back. And that single from Django, if you want to look that up, it's Too Old to Die Young Now, and that's really good. So that's my pick'em.
Cool. Well, I didn't get a chance a lot to listen to a lot of music this week, but I'll quick rundown of what I've been listening to. Yesterday, I was going through my Apple Music, and I decided to look up Chris Stapleton. Of course, I've mentioned him, I think, last week, but it looks like he's got the From a Room album that he did. He's actually releasing 2 volumes this year, and the first volume's been released all year long, or for a while. And it looks like now volume 2, it's in pre-release, and you can go listen to the first track. It's called Millionaire, and I went and listened to it yesterday, and it is pure country gold. If you like classic country, you'll like Millionaire. So go check that out. Actually, I got wind of a tour that's gonna be coming through my area in Memorial Day of next year, and oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. George Strait's gonna be coming, which I looked into going, not because I'm a huge George Strait fan, but my wife is a huge George Strait fan. And Chris Stapleton's going to be on that tour with him, along with Casey Musgrove. So I'm more excited about the opening acts now about George Strait. So I figure, I think tickets go on sale like next week sometime. And I'm thinking about going ahead and buying those because, like, you know, that would earn me huge points at home, first of all, to bring my wife to go see George Strait. And then I would get to see Chris Stapleton and Casey Musgrove. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
I thought everybody loved George Strait.
Well, I do, but it's not like one of those artists that I obsess about. But, you know, I said this to my wife. I said, you know, if I would have known, like, Tom Petty was in New Orleans last year and I didn't go see him, and I'm like, now if there's, like, an iconic artist that I want to see, like, I think I'm going to, like, really make the effort to go see him because, man, I just missed out on a huge opportunity, you know.
Totally.
Yeah. One more thing I'll add. I'm going to speak to the P-dub genre for a minute. I've been listening to Bethel has an album out called Starlight, and there's a track on there. It's actually, they didn't write this. It's a John Mark McMillan track that's been out for a little while, but they've got it featured on their album called King of My Heart. That song is my jam right now. I've been doing that for the last 2 weeks as part of my sets, and so that's a good album if you're into the P-dub stuff. Let's see, another one is Elevation has There's a Cloud out. I'm kind of late on that, but that's a great album. A lot of good tracks on that one. So yeah, that's my pick. Nick?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to your last week's pick with Travis Meadows, and I just thought I think that album's fantastic. I think it was the one you said that he wrote after he got clean, and like the first one, and from song one to the end, it's great. I'm gonna buy it. Like I really dig that one, and I was also going to say that Chris Stapleton in a Room is also a really good album too. I saw Volume 1's available on iTunes. I didn't see Volume 2 yet. I think that's like a pre-order. They released like one song, but that's also a great song or great CD. And all of a sudden, I have hope for country music again.
Yeah. That's Killing Uncle Buzzy is the album that you're mentioning about Travis.
Yeah, that's it. I love the name, love the CD, man. Just killer.
Okay, so my pick for this week. Whoa, am I clipping?
Yeah, you're clipping a little bit.
You're
there you go.
Okay.
That's better.
Wow. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, weird. That's okay. So my pick for this week is Caravan Palace. What it is it's a really interesting combination of stuff. Basically, if you ever wondered what it would be like if you took Daft Punk and combined them with Django Reinhardt, that's Caravan Palace.
What?
Seriously, they take Stefan Grappelli, and they take style violin, and they take Django style guitar lines, and they combine them with, instead of doing a La Pompe, you know, the of a Django style song, they do a electronica style, drum and bass combination with samples and sometimes vocals, and it's the kind of thing you listen to your car and you can listen to in your car and you can listen to it all day, and it's just a bunch of really interesting combinations of stuff, that gypsy jazz combined with like a Daft Punk style background, and a little bit cleaner than Daft Punk, maybe. What would you call it? Just like dance music, like your regular dance electronica type stuff, drum and bass type stuff that you would hear in the Gap. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, you combine those two things together, and it's a really interesting thing to just listen to. And I couldn't tell you the name of any of the songs, to be honest with you. But here, maybe you can hear this. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Regular lip palm.
Is this a Charlie Chaplin video?
Just a minute. It's gonna drop in a second. And that's actually the big one. But it goes. The next step it goes to is like a big drum and bass type thing, and then it goes into another thing, and then it goes into another thing, and a lot of the other songs are just guitar and drum and bass, and it's like, for me, it's just so much fun to listen to, and you can't listen to it and be in a bad mood. And then another one, Correspondence, really good, similar vein, but they sing like 30s and 20s style vocals, but with really dark sounding Nine Inch Nails style background. Like the contrast is so cool. It's just this light and dark, this good and bad, this happy and kind of disturbed combination that I really like. So that's my pick for this week. I think it's time for a visit with Mr. Mojo, I think.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Mojo.
All right. We are on the Mojo Minute. And this one is all Clifton's fault because he basically introduced me to Scott Baxendale guitars via Instagram, and I am hooked. And it's actually Baxendale. Baxendale Guitars is he makes his own guitars. Scott Baxendale does, and it looks like he's got a luthier school too. But he does something called Harmony Conversions, and I thought he just fixes up old Harmony and K guitars, but then I got into the actual process of what he does, and it's pretty crazy. So he takes old USA-made Harmony and Ks, and he remanufactures them. He's got his own internal bracing design, and he takes these things apart and he redoes all the bracing on these guitars. Changes it from the old kind of bad ladder bracing to this new X bracing that he does, and he repurposes the whole guitar. And then he puts in most of those old guitars that either don't have a truss rod or they're just a non-adjustable truss rod. He puts a truss rod in there that is adjustable. And when you get this thing, whatever you decide to buy, whatever he's done and has for sale, you get a vintage guitar that might not have been made that well back then, but it now plays like an old Gibson or an old Martin or you really get a vintage instrument with a lot of character. And I really dig that. I mean, you talk about Mojo, and some of these go from like $1,300 to $1,500. And I mean, it's a lot, but it's totally worth it to me. And do you have any of that audio, Clifton, that's working?
Yeah, I'm going to throw up some audio on that.
And this is the K25.
We have this Super Jumbo K, mahogany sides and back, spruce top, in beautiful condition. Tone.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. And if you get a chance to follow him on Instagram, just look up Baxendale Guitars, Baxendale. His stuff is just, I mean, it sounds so much better when you get it on some computers, some computer speakers with some headphones and listen to it. But they're so crisp, and the top end is so great. They're awesome. And yeah, this is such a unique thing to me. Like the idea of actually taking an old guitar apart and like rebuilding it on the inside, but preserving everything else. He does put new bridges on them and stuff like that, because a lot of times the old bridges lift or they break down, and he puts bone saddles on them. So, I mean, you're getting a custom instrument. You're not getting just an old K. You're getting everything that's good about an old K or an old Harmony, and then you're getting like modern perks, custom perks. I don't know. I think that's, and, Goto tuners and all kinds of stuff. I just think that's great. Yeah, check them out. I'm giving them a huge plug. I do not own any of them. Someday I hope I will. In fact, it's getting more and more likely that someday that's what I'm going to do, if they are still running and all still alive by the time I have enough money to buy one.
That's cool. I gotta say, that clip really surprised me. Even hearing that the way that I heard it, I mean, it doesn't sound like a Harmony or a K at all.
Right.
It sounds great. I'm really surprised. I mean, to have that look of a Harmony and a K, and to actually have a guitar that sounds like a guitar instead of some of those things sound like cigar boxes, even though they're giant things. Or they have a really unusual EQ, like shift towards a particular mid frequency, or a shift towards which can be a good or bad. But that sounds like a full range high end guitar to me. You got the highs and lows. It sounds balanced. That's cool.
Well, yeah, and he's using. So it says it's a scalloped X bracing that's similar to a pre-war Martin or a Gibson, and it's carved from quarter sawn Adirondack or Engelmann spruce. I mean, so you're getting premium stuff in these things. And yeah, I love that. I'm sure his guitars are nice too, but I'm stuck on these old Harmonies and Ks, because that's what I want. I keep looking, like I'm still scouring Reverb for like stuff I can get for like $60, because I really want to mess around with them and things like that. And I'm really digging that parlor guitar. It's something I would bring out, if I was ever playing out or something like that with people. I think it's the perfect guitar, because it's got such a unique sound on that top end. And I'd cut through the mix, I think, really, really well if I was in a jam.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Now I have a question. Does he refinish those guitars, or does he leave the guitars? Because I'm just wondering, because a lot of times they use less than ideal finishes on there. Does he leave the old finish on there? Or does he refinish the whole thing?
I don't think so. But it depends on what the guitar is and what's wrong with it. And I know he quotes you on an instrument when you send it into him. But I do know that he does refret the guitar. So
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, he removes the old frets and he planes the fingerboard straight and sand it to a perfect 12 or 14 radius. So he's doing quite a bit of work to these things. I mean, you're basically getting the old look, but you're getting a new custom guitar. So
that's the way to go then. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and some of the ones he's holding in the pictures looked like they were definitely. I don't think he wants to touch the finishes. I think he likes the old patina. But I guess it would depend on what the customer wants. So anyway, and yes, I will be sending this episode to Baxendale.
Yeah,
Mr. Marketing.
I'm sure he'll appreciate the plug. Well,
sounds cool.
He may want to talk to you in the future, Clifton.
Yeah, I would love to have him on the show if he would want to do that. Well,
so
that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, is there any other topics you guys want to cover?
I think I'm good. I will apologize to Jamie Davis though, because I was going to talk about his Harmony on the Mojo Minute, and I think I'm going to do that next time we do this.
Silvertone.
Or Silvertone.
Yes.
Harmony, Silvertone.
They're all the same. All department store.
All this Mr. Mojo says they're all the same. I win.
They're not all the same. They're all very unique. Very, very unique. One of a kind. One of a kind.
Ah.
I'll say one more thing that I want to add. Go check out the Tone Hackers group on Facebook. It's a community that I started back several months ago, and it's kind of had a little bit of a jump start and some interest again. And this group is dedicated to talking about hacks, things that we do in a pinch that get us through a gig or get us through whatever we're trying to do. And So go join the discussion. If you're listening and you haven't joined the Clifton Worley Show group, we have discussion going there from time to time. Go check it out.
Worley Birds unite.
That's it.
And real quick, and if you hear anything on this show that you want to talk about, you go to the Clifton Worley group page, because last week we had a really interesting conversation about several of the things we talked about, and I love to hear that, to hear the feedback, and it's really fascinating to hear other opinions on things, except for the Eagles. I mean, they suck, but
we'd like to get some conversation on that page. So yeah, please do. And if you guys have anything you want to hear on the or see on the Mojo Minute or whatever, feel free to Facebook message me or post them on there also.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining in on an episode of the Worley Birds. I'm Clifton Worley, and Nick and Josh, thank you. And
thank you.
We'll talk again soon.
All right, later.
I'm